Okay, hi, and welcome to the David Mack Show. I'm David Mack III, along with my co-host Daniel Patrick Mack. I want to thank Luke for operating the controls, keeping everything in check. Great to be here with you today on this Saturday, this beautiful day down in sunny Charleston, South Carolina. And we have a couple of guests that'll be calling in today. One will be member of Charleston City Council, Charleston County Council, I'm sorry, Jerome Heyward. He'll be calling at 1:15, sharing some important information with us. And at 1:35, State Senator Mia McLeod, who is running for one of the candidates running for governor. So we'll have the two of them on today. So we're looking forward to that. We're sponsored in part by the Friends of Jim Clyburn. Also, the Gullah Geechee Chamber of Commerce. We want to thank them, the Friends of Jim Clyburn, and the Gullah Geechee Chamber of Commerce with Marilyn Hemingway for being two of our main sponsors, along with Dr. Enio Conafor, 5390 Dorchester Road in North Charleston, primary care physician, flat out one of the best. So we want to thank our sponsors for supporting the David Mack Show. We come on every Saturday at 1 o'clock right here on WJNI. Also, we want to say at the very top, congratulations to all the graduates. It is a very, very special time for the graduates and their families, and I think it's had even more significance because so many of us have society has been basically on a virtual lockdown literally, and it's beginning to ease up a little bit. I would urge everyone not to do too much too soon, but enjoy those graduation times. They're very special. I've enjoyed watching all the pictures on social media of people's children and grandchildren graduating. Enjoy those times, embrace those times. They are very, very special. Also, want to go back to the same old thing. If you hadn't gotten the vaccine, get vaccinated. It's very simple. Don't try to outthink the room. It's very simple. Get vaccinated. And I go back to one thing. Like, we could talk about a lot of things about the science and all that, but can anybody out there listening think of their children in their neighborhood, children in their school being ravished by polio? Think about that for a second. No. Why? Because of a vaccine. Keep it simple. Get the vaccine. Protect yourself. Do everything you can. There's a chance of some variants. There is a chance of this and that. But you want to do that which you can't. And now they're closing vaccine sites. They're throwing certain vaccines away. But by all means, get the vaccine. That's very, very important.
Yeah, we're actually starting to donate some of the vaccines we have to some of the other countries in need just because we have a surplus. Part of it just because of manufacturing efforts, and the other part of it is just because there's a number of people who have not been getting the vaccine and they do have a shelf life. So they're trying to make sure that they're at least put to use somewhere within the world. So for anyone who does have any type of hesitations, just remember, time is of the essence. And here's the thing, I heard it from just one news source that was more global, so I usually like to have things checked by other sources, but sometimes it doesn't get reported the same, that Russia over the last 48 hours had something like 12,000 cases. So, of course, we know the hell that India went through just a month ago and is still recovering from because of the lack of oxygen in hospital rooms, and that has always been the biggest thing. You look at it, you try to look over it, 3 million dead in a year as far as from the disease itself. People say, well, the mortality rate as far as the number of people who have it and those who survive, but we're talking about those who have lingering systems and the stress on the healthcare system. If you talk to anybody who's been a doctor or nurse in this event the last year, they've been taxed. There's a lot of people who are either left the industry or reconsidered going into the industry because of what they went through, when a lot of things could have been prevented just by mask or so, or making sure we're socially distanced or being responsible. So it's not just about, even though you don't want to play roulette with your life, you never want to gamble and be like, well, I don't have to worry about it, but it's also the toll it's taken on community that we have to remember. And just because things look great locally as far as us coming out of it. We have to remember we don't want to repeat those mistakes, so have to stay vigilant and take responsible actions when we can.
Okay, absolutely. And one of the things that I think about right now, and again, we have two um, guests coming up. Member of the Charleston County Council, Jerome Heyward, will be calling in at 1:15. Some very important information, especially as it relates to housing and money to help prevent evictions. So we look forward to having him calling in. And State Senator McLeod, who's a candidate for governor, she'll be calling in at 1:35. So we're looking forward to those two conversations. One of the things we're dealing with now is the total hypocrisy that is going on. And I've been involved with politics a long time, even before serving in the General Assembly. And one of the things you rely on is for both sides of the aisle just to be straight up and to, to have a philosophy, how you're going to do things, and for the dominant, the who's ever in power dominantly, it's going to go mostly their way. But as I've said many times, that there, hopefully there should be a desire to have a good municipality, a good county, a good state, a good country, etc. And right now the hypocrisy is crazy. You've got the G7 summit. You've got world leaders meeting right now, and it's on the eve, but not too long ago you had Trump being in Russia, on foreign soil in Russia, in the presence of Putin, and taking Putin's word over our 22 intelligence agencies. I keep saying that, how people just seem to forget about that and don't want to talk about that. We have a situation in which there are close to 300 bills throughout this country in the different legislatures designed to keep people from voting. And how sick is that? You want the process to work. People die for the process. And so often when Democrats lose, well, we're gonna have to work better, we're gonna have to organize more, we're gonna have to do this, we have to go back to work. And it seems like when segments of Republicans lose, well, let's stop people from voting. And then I've said before, logistically, you can't vote everybody on the same day anymore. You just can't. Years ago, decades ago, everybody voted from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. on a Tuesday. It was election day. That was it. The population is too large now here in the low country and throughout the country that logistically you cannot vote everybody on the same day. So, and there's been no proof of fraud whatsoever. So all of this has to be dealt with from a standard of values. And that's what's really troublesome right now. There is a problem as relates to our basic values as relates to democracy. Not about partisan politics. Not about Democrats, Republicans, or it's just basic democracy. The process. People still ignoring the January 6th insurrection. And, again, that's not Democrat or Republican. That is a threat on our government. And for Republicans not to want to have a bipartisan commission to examine that, are you saying that the people that led the insurrection, those are your constituents? Those are Republicans? And the mindset should be that they're not Republicans, they're not Democrats, they're insurrectionists. There are folks that are threatening democracy. And both political parties should come together in order to deal with those insurrectionists so that we could go on with democracy. As non-perfect as it seems to be sometimes, you can't have a situation where you're a member of Congress, you're barricading doors, you're hiding, you're taking your legislative pens off because you're afraid you're going to get killed. People are coming in chanting to hang Mike Pence, to kill the Vice President of the United States, and then you act like that never happened? So there's a lot that has to be done to get us back on track with regards to all of this, because we're in bad shape right now in terms of the country, in terms of democracy, in terms of getting a point where we could have a rational debate as relates to policy, Democrats, Republicans, the process. We're in trouble right now in terms of getting that to work.
Yeah, absolutely. And the biggest danger in terms of it that I feel is really creeping up is that there's always been a certain comfort level that we were able to fall into within this country, where it, whether it be for better or for worse, the worst part was some people just didn't want to face the truth of what was going on, and there were always enough the distractions around where somebody really just wanted to put their head in the sand. They could, if they wanted to. They could turn off the news, turn on a sports game or a movie and escape to that fantasy land if they helped them. But now it's getting to the point where it's really becoming inescapable ever since the pandemic. And instead of using that time to really, really work out your worldviews, really determine what's important to you personally and also for your community through politics and social interaction. There are some who did not utilize that time, and now we're all kind of being forced to it again as we find our ways opening up. And you see things such as mass shootings across the country, not just locally, because we've spoken about gun violence recently, but across the country. Just say another one in, I believe it was in Texas. Austin, Texas.
There's so many of them, and one in Florida, exactly. And a Publix. A grandmother and a 1-year-old.
That was a guy who was a double murder suicide, and he had actually put things on Facebook saying he was planning to do that, and the law officials in that area had they had the same anger, like, how come nobody reached out? This was put on Facebook, and I don't know how long it was out there because I was just watching it all this morning. He was just saying we need to look out for each other, even if you have a suspicion, don't be shy with it. But then that leads to even another issue with. You have some people who are shy about calling the police because they're worried about civil rights until we work out everything with in regards to that. Am I ruining this person's life if I call the police too prematurely or set them up? And people have those concerns. So it's a lot, but that's why we really need to be there for each other as we work our way through it, because the challenge is not going anywhere. They just don't disappear. So we really have to all turn to it and face it. And let each person speak their truth.
Yeah, it's very, very important that we be able to pick this apart, and it gets into the thing. We're gonna be talking more about this lately. It's been on so many people's radar, and it's a good thing. The mental health issue. The pandemic has raised the level of folks having mental health challenges. There's more shootings, and you're talking about Publix and parks and stuff, and the mall, department stores. You're not talking about as folks would think back in the day, some back alley someplace, or some late night
public as you can get
hole in it. People, you take your family and stuff. You don't feel safe in the daytime. So we have to work through all of this. On the phone with us is a very, very good friend, member of Charleston County Council, Brother Jerome Heyward. How you doing?
How you doing, Representative Mack? How you doing?
Doing fine. Here with my son Daniel, and wanted to get an update from you. You had some very important information that people need to know as relates to County Council. What's going on? What are some of the main things that people need to know right now?
Right now, Representative Mack and young brother Mack, you you got a great teacher and leader and a father. And
Thank you.
before I get to answer that question, I really have a lot of respect for Representative Mack and all the great work he done serving in the General Assembly, and to your grandfather, to a distinguished gentleman that really done a lot for the community, as well as the grandfather service to the community as an educator.
Thank you.
So I just wanted to say that. But we have $9 million sitting in Charleston County right now, and the money is just sitting there. Nobody's applying for it, and that money is for anybody who's behind in their mortgage or rent. And next week, Friday, the moratorium is left on foreclosures and evictions. So it's imperative that our people please go and apply for this money at charlestoncounty.org. And this is money that you don't have to pay back. It cleans you up, give you a new slate, no strings attached, and our people just not applying for it, which is really bad because it's $9 million, and if we don't use it, we're gonna lose it.
How do people apply?
So you can apply right now to go to charlestoncounty.org right now, go to the website, and it'll come right up. Or you can go down there and apply, get off on the second floor, go to the end of the hall, last door to the right, which is the administrative finance office. You can go right in there and apply, and they'll take your application. It's not a big long application, so a lot of people get discouraged because of the paperwork. This is, I think, at best a one-pager, and simple information: who's the landlord, what's the cost, how far behind. They'll verify that, and a check is written immediately. So it's no 25 to 30-day process.
Hey, Councilman Heyward, this is Daniel here, and I want to thank you for those kind words about my father and grandfather. And we also want to thank you for all the work that you have done and continue to do within the community as well. We hold you up in that same esteem, so thank you. And the question I have for you is, when you talk about the paperwork, and sometimes people are hesitant about it, I just want to get in front of it since we are on the radio. Are there any rumors or concerns that, because we know that everything related to the pandemic, there has always been some type of rumor or something started up where, hey, if you fill out this paperwork, and you can't do that if you had a record before, if you ever filed bankruptcy, or just something that kind of deters people where we're like, well, I can't get that assistance, or I know I wouldn't qualify. Are there any rumors that we need to get ahead of that maybe you've heard or have been circulating out there that might have been steering people away from this source of help?
No, it's basically no strings attached, and I know one person that applied and got help right away, and he basically told me that he was glad that I called him about it, and he told me, he said it was painless, and I don't even think they ask you for your social security number, nothing like that. I just think they need to know who the landlord is and verify how far you are behind it, and they're gonna do the verification to make sure you're behind. But as far as anything being hidden out there or smoking gun, I hadn't heard that, and Chairman Pryor has been instrumental in making sure that window stay open, and I know they're gonna probably be coming to you guys to buy some advertisement to get the word out, because a lot of people do not know this, and everybody's not all right now, and I suspect within the next 10 days after the moratorium is lifted, you're gonna see the bottom fall out, and I'm just afraid what the end gonna look like, because a lot of people was hurt by this virus.
Okay, we're speaking with a member of Charleston County Council, Brother Jerome Heyward, who has been a longtime friend, and he and I have worked on a lot of things in the community together that a lot of people don't even know about over the years. And one of the things that I really urge folks to do, because you talk about, when you give a website and you talking about the paperwork and stuff, that what's very important in these times, not just as relates to this, but everything that's going on, such as this in terms of services, is that we be our brother's keeper. That if you know someone that's elderly, if you know someone that does not have access to the internet or does not have broadband or whatever, that you reach out to them, and those needing help to reach out to a relative or a friend. We have to look out for each other to make sure that this is done. Talk about that aspect for us.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and that part, they even go back to when your kids, uh, if they did something wrong and the neighbor saw, they have permission to put a belt on them, and we have lost that. And one of the things that I do want to talk about is the crime problem that I talked about last week at council meeting. Anybody sitting thinking, and I get a lot of, I have a guy, me and another guy, exchange words over this morning. What Chief Burgess gonna do about the crime? Listen, if you think that that's the chief job, to just sit and it's all on his back, you absolutely crazy. It's not Reggie's job. It's our job. It's everybody living in this community. It's all our problem. So we should not put all that pressure on Reggie and saying what Reggie gonna do. Reggie doing his job. Reggie got to get the community involved to hear what ideas they have. And then another thing, and David, this is one of the things that you and Bill Saunders and them been talking about years and years ago about gentrification and poverty. Poverty is the key. That's the key word to gentrification and crime. And that's what we face, and we got to get community involvement with this, and not put all the pressure on what Reggie gonna do. Reggie begging the community to come forward on some of these crimes that people sitting on information, and we got a revolving door with some of these magistrates turning these guys loose on these low bonds. Like this one guy out on bond right now for murder, and they're turning around and kill somebody else. And part of the bond is supposed to be if you're a flight risk or a danger to the community. If you just kill somebody, I don't see how in the world a magistrate can set a bond on him saying that he's not a threat to the community when he just killed somebody.
Absolutely.
Less than 9 months ago.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
17 guys terrorizing the Tri-County area. 17 guys, and it's a revolving door. And you got to ask yourself the question: why does this keep happening? Why does this keep happening? It's 17 guys terrorizing the little country, and we can't seem to put them away. Something wrong with that picture.
I mean, and you hit the nail on the head in terms of, and I know that had to drive everybody crazy this week when you saw that guy on bond for murder, and then he killed somebody else. I mean, how does that family feel with that extra information that this guy's killed before and he's out? And when he goes, he just takes his ankle bracelet off, and they catch him, but the damage has already been done. So this thing has to be fixed from a lot of different angles, and the pandemic has made it worse. The mental health aspect, the violence aspect that has exploded throughout. People are getting shot now in grocery stores and in the mall in the daytime when they're out with their family and stuff. It's not just our community, but we have problems all over this country as relates to that. Talk about that for us.
I really wish, and this is one of the things that I have a meeting with the chief and the mayor on Monday. And this is one of the things I really wish we could have is every time we have town hall meetings, we never get the people that really need to be there, and that's the young people who's out there who sometimes we ignore, and then they got ideas on how we probably can fix some of this, because the only thing we do is we ride past them. Like the guy told me the other day, only time y'all talk to us is when y'all want us to tell y'all what happened. He said, y'all don't talk, y'all ignore us. Y'all don't come to us for no him. Y'all don't come to us and say, hey, how can we help y'all? Our kids leave jobs where? Other states and stuff, and we got to reverse that because why every time one of our kids graduate from college, they have to go somewhere else and make a good living, and then other people don't have to go nowhere to make a decent living, and then when they go to school, they got to come back here and struggle, and that scenario got to change because we got some excellent. We got just like your boys. All your boys went to school. They did exactly what you asked them to do. Go get a good education and come back and be somebody. They all did that. You don't have to go to the jail. And you don't have to go to the jail and get none of your boys out. And then at 14 and 15 years old, you knew where they were going to be at 9 o'clock at night. And we can't expect the police to police our houses inside, and we have gotten away from not everybody. Now I ain't throwing everybody under the bus, but a lot of that is the new parenting. We try to be their friends and not the parents, and that's another problem. And the big problem we have, we don't want to have the conversation about the black on black crime. We don't want to have that conversation. We don't want to have that conversation. We have to have that conversation on how we address that. Going forward, we got to have David, and we got to have your boys at the table, my boys at the table, and the young guys to help us address this because we never include them in nothing. We never include it, and we need to hear from them. How y'all think we fix this? How we get out this mess we in? How we get out of it? How we get out of it?
You know, Councilman Heyward, you bring up some great points, and it kind of leads to this next question as well, too, as far as, especially when our youth is concerned, because one thing that kind of remained steady last year through the pandemic is that one of the first places to open back up and stay open in some capacity, whether it was digital or anything else, was schools, and that was always one of my biggest concerns. My daughter actually graduated high school last year in the midst of all this, and just wondering, with when it comes to the kids and that youth in our community, those who continue through school throughout all this and how they're relating to each other, there's a whole lot of distrust that I felt, especially more so from adults out there within the country, just from things that happened politically, things with the virus, things that happened, all throughout last year and are kind of extending into this year. But how do we build that, or what are some of your views? You already mentioned some of them, but how do we get trust amongst the youth? Will we have to set the example, make sure that we can show some trust amongst each other first, or do we have to take that conversation right there to the youth? Just from some things that you've experienced and are continuing to work with, well, what have you found to be successful in those areas?
I think those programs like Representative Breland that we had with the Call Me Mister program, we're gonna have to go back to something. Not go back. We're gonna have to include a lot of that, where we can sit down with our young men and catch them down right before they go to grade school and start telling them the value of a life. Because we left them out. We left them out the equation, and I hear that all the time. And what I do now, I stop and talk to them more, and I'm finding out. They say, "We glad you stopped." Like in my district, when I ride through and I see them stop, or when I see them on the corner talking, I stop and get out the car and go talk to them now. And what I'm finding out, like yesterday, what I'm finding out now, they said, "Man, we glad you stopped and talked to us. We got some ideas, but nobody never asked us our ideas." And they said, "When y'all have community meetings, y'all never invite us." And if you think about that, just look at some of the community meetings and just look at who inside and look at who should be there. They're not there. So to connect us, we're gonna have to go back to basic. And when we have a town hall meeting, guess what? The ones who we want to be there, we gotta do a good job lobbying the community to get them inside so they can tell us what they think it should be a plan of action on how we get out the mess we in now.
Brother Jerome Heyward, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you. I appreciate your friendship, and you just keep doing what you're doing. We look forward to having you back on again.
Thanks for having me, and y'all brothers have a good day.
All right, take care.
Take care.
Right. Okay, that was a member of Charleston County Council, Jerome Heyward, and he, along with Teddy Pryor and Brother Middleton, and so many of them are doing a phenomenal job on Charleston County Council. And, interact with your elected officials. Let them know. You know, I always tell folks that elected officials work for you. Work for you, and it's always been. And good elected officials want to hear from you. Want to hear from you that what you can do, what they can do better, how they can get information as relates to a win-win situation for the district, the county, or whatever the case may be, the municipality. So you want to be able to have that communication. So to Brother Jerome Heyward, we thank you. And again, we're going to be having State Senator Mia McLeod calling in shortly to talk about some things at the state level. Of course, she's running for governor. But one of the things that with that last conversation, Daniel, is he talked about the comprehensive aspect of it. It's not just it's law enforcement, the community, and then you have the mental health component that's been getting a lot of attention lately. All of those things have to work together for the common good, and it's a big challenge.
Absolutely, and the biggest thing is just from group effort. We just can't say that's up to the police or it's up to elected officials. These are the ones who can assist and are supposed to be able to keep things straight, but we have to take that personal responsibility and work alongside all these groups and so on to ensure this.
Okay, with us on the phone now is someone that I respect tremendously. I refer to her for many years as my legislative twin, my good friend who is running for governor, State Senator Mia McLeod. How are you doing?
Hello, my legislative twin.
All right.
I'm doing great. How are you?
Fantastic. Well, give us an update. I'm here with my son Daniel, my co-host, and give us an update. You have announced to run for governor. What motivated you to take this very big step? You've done such a phenomenal job in the state legislature, first in the House and then in the Senate, and I refer to you as having just always tremendous values, always on the right side, always looking out for people, whether it's working people, whether it's the elderly, whether it's children, always having a set of values, looking out for people. And I know you would carry that to the governor's mansion. Talk about that decision to make this move, and where did it come from?
Well, it wasn't an easy decision. We need a leader who has the courage to lead, and we don't have one. And I just believe that with the issues that were really magnified and exacerbated by the pandemic, which we are still in, trying to come out of, but there's still people dying and still folks across South Carolina who are being exposed to this deadly virus. And it seems that only the governor and his crew have been able to access the monoclonal antibodies to save their lives, and the resources and the treatment and the funding. Only those who he considers worthy of, taking advantage of those resources and stuff that are available are able to do that. And that's not governing. And it certainly isn't showing any care or concern or compassion for all of the people of South Carolina. And I just believe that coming from rural Marlboro County, I see the difference in terms of not just education, but health care. As you know, David, I was diagnosed with sickle cell anemia when I was a freshman at USC. And I had been sick in and out of hospitals during my childhood. Fortunately, I have a form of sickle cell, or a type of sickle cell, that is milder than some, but I still have crises when those cells sickle up. And I have been hospitalized on numerous occasions because of it. But we had a hospital then. when I was younger and living in Bennettsville in Marlborough County. We don't even have a hospital now. And so, just thinking about our minimally adequate educational standard and coming from that part of the state where some people have for years referred to it as the corridor of shame, really it's just the forgotten and neglected corridor. And it's not alone. We've got so many rural parts of South Carolina that have just been completely ignored and forgotten by this Republican governor and the last Republican governor and all of our Republican leaders who serve with us in the South Carolina House and Senate. So, I'm not just running because of those issues, because I could go on and on. I mean, from education to expanding Medicaid to infrastructure improvements that we have to have, to race, an issue that so many of my colleagues and other candidates, I'm sure, in this race and any other race won't be willing to talk about. I don't have that luxury because I've got two young adult sons who I love dearly, and they are, they are being targeted as we speak by those who are in power, and we've got to do something different if we want, something different. I'm a little frustrated that we keep doing the same things over and over and over again and trying to nominate and elect the same kinds of candidates year after year, gubernatorial election after gubernatorial election. And it's just, we keep getting our butts kicked. And I am a different candidate, and I am a fighter. I'm not one to just take what the Republicans try to dish out. I am going to fight them till the end for the people of this state, and I'm talking all of the people. So I'm excited about this new phase of my journey, and just looking forward to the conversations. I'm actually in the upstate right now. Met with Secretary Dick Riley yesterday, and some of the council members and community leaders in Greenville, and then today I just left a Pickens County Democratic meeting, and I'm headed to Spartanburg. So we are taking this conversation to the people and getting some much needed feedback from them about what they'd like to see in a better, stronger South Carolina.
It's a beautiful thing. You listen to the David Mack Radio Show. We are here with State Senator Mia McLeod, who's currently running for South Carolina governor. And the question that I had for you next was, even though you've been serving the public for countless years and been in the legislature before, then got to your current level, what was the moment, or if you can pinpoint it, the moment where you said, this state needs a new governor, and it should be me. We need a new direction. What moment did it strike you that you really had to be the change that you wanted to see within the state, and you just couldn't wait for anybody else?
Well, there were actually multiple moments, but one of the moments, and I can share both, or at least two of them. One of the moments was when my son, my baby boy, looked at me and said, he just graduated this year from Colorado State University. He could not wait to leave South Carolina and go to school in another state far away, and went there and loved it. And he looked at me and said, Mom, I will come home and visit. He said, and because he's really big on family too, but he said, I can't come back and to live in South Carolina. And it hurt. But I understood why he said that. He's like, there's nothing here for me but y'all, in terms of his family. He doesn't feel that his voice is represented here. He doesn't believe that his best opportunities are here, or the quality of life that he wants and deserves is here. And that will continue to be the case as long as we have people like Henry McMaster in office. We have got to do something to change that so that our best and brightest from here stay here, or at least come back here after school, so after college. So that's one of the reasons, but that is a huge reason, and it's more of an abstract reason. It's not really grounded in any particular policy, but it is just a mom who is concerned about this state that I love. I was born and raised here. I said initially that I was fifth generation, but I've actually discovered that I'm a sixth generation South Carolinian. So when my sons don't want to stay here, don't want to, come back here or start their families here and have a life here in South Carolina, it is very concerning because I've seen so many of our state's best and brightest kids go to neighboring states like North Carolina and Georgia and Florida and all these other states because the opportunities are better there. The quality of life is better there. And they feel like they have a voice there, or they have leaders that are actually concerned about their well-being just as much as they're concerned about anybody else's. So that was a biggie for me. And it kind of started that change, that mindset change, because I spent a whole year and a half, a little over a year trying to talk God out of it, out of what I believe he was telling me to do. One of the other reasons is the pandemic. That for me was more eye-opening than anything anybody could have told me or taught me. It was really an eye-opening year when I saw that Henry McMaster, and I apologize for the background noise, but we're in a rainstorm right now on the road. But Henry McMaster did everything he could, it seems, to put communities of color in harm's way during the pandemic. He refused to protect all of the people of South Carolina. He didn't have the courage to issue a statewide mask mandate when it would have made a difference. He didn't have the courage to actually lead by example when it would have made a difference. He didn't have the courage to impose restrictions on businesses and entertainment venues when it would have made a difference and would have been a temporary, a temporary restriction so that we could all get back to quote unquote normal life sooner than we were able to. I mean, this governor politicized everything related to the pandemic. I had Democrats and Republicans calling me, emailing me, texting me, saying, please help me. I can't access my unemployment, and this is the first time I've ever been unemployed, or I can't, I don't even know whether my son or daughter who has disabilities and special needs, whether they are on the list to be vaccinated, or I'm the caregiver of my elderly parent, and they can get vaccinated, but I can't. I mean, there were just so many issues and challenges facing all South Carolinians, not just the ones that Governor McMaster liked, that he just simply ignored. And as a result, at least 10,000 people are dead now in this state. And we are, we're trying to come out of it. Ooh, it's a really bad storm, so I apologize for the noise. But it's going to be slow, and it has been extremely painful, especially for communities of color, especially for those in rural communities, underserved communities who were having to educate their kids virtually, or have their kids educated virtually without broadband and without the proper infrastructure and access to the things that they needed to be able to do that from home. So there were just so many issues that the pandemic exposed that I'd have to say that was the turning point for me.
Okay, the rain is not bothering us, but in terms of sound quality, but we're just concerned about your safety. Are you okay?
I am. I'm not driving, but
okay.
We're moving at a snail's pace.
Okay, you're not driving. Okay, good.
If you could hear it.
Oh yeah, everything's fine. Okay, great. And we're speaking with State Senator Mia McLeod, who's a member of the South Carolina State Senate, who is running for governor. I wanted to ask you because you were hitting on some very important points as relates to South Carolina, and I've always referred to Governor McMaster being one of those, and too many Republican governors, a significant segment of Republican governors have what I call played politics with this virus instead of looking at the safety of people. What's in my quote unquote political best interest, which is a shame in and of itself. But wanted to ask you from a general standpoint, and you mentioned your son and your other son, Brian, I know very well and enjoy working with him in Columbia. Very good person. I know you're so very proud of him, as we all are. He is a phenomenal young man. Wanted to get your ideas on how do we fix South Carolina, and what I mean by that. We've used the term so much over the years that people not voting in our best interest. But in South Carolina, it's at a whole nother level. South Carolina voted for Donald Trump the second time around. With all the stuff, I mentioned earlier, being on foreign soil, taking Putin's words over our 22 intelligence agencies, the vile and disgusting things he said about women, not being very smart, all the things as relates to Trump. South Carolina still voted for Trump. And we had somebody like a Jamie Harrison who had tons of money, had the proverbial, quote unquote family image that people tend to say they want to see, the wife and the children and all that, tons of money, wore Lindsey Graham out in the debates and still lost. So I ask you the general question. What do we do to fix South Carolina so that it's more in line with less examined issues and more people are thinking from an individual standpoint, family standpoint, what's in my best interest?
Right. That's a great question, David. And one of the things that I hope to do is to engage all of the people of South Carolina. What we've discovered is that even last year, 1 million registered voters in South Carolina didn't vote.
Mm-hmm.
That is in large part what we have to change. And I think the way that we begin to change that is by engaging all the people. 1 million people didn't vote because we didn't. The people who were running, and granted, it was during a global pandemic. So this is not to say that Jamie didn't do the best he could with the under the circumstances, because I don't think any of us can say with certainty how we would have handled that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think from the Republican perspective, at least what I've seen, they didn't care. And they found a way to engage their folks and to make sure that they mobilized them and got them out. We've got to do the same thing. For 1 million people, considering what was at stake last year, for 1 million registered voters in South Carolina not to disengage at a time when we could least afford to be disengaged speaks volumes. But I can tell you this. One of the things as Democrats that I plan to do that really I haven't seen done in a meaningful way by many candidates is we got to engage the Bryans and, your son and my son and the younger generation, because that's why they're leaving. That's because, they feel like, hey, I can talk about all these issues that matter to me, but at the end of the day, Trump still wins my state. Well, for some of them, like your son and my son, probably didn't feel like they had a choice in terms of voting. But there's so many South Carolinians their age who do feel like they have a choice, and they've chosen to disengage. and we have to re-engage them in a meaningful way by talking about issues that are important to them and letting them talk about and talk to their peers about those same issues. Make sure that they are actively engaged and actively involved in this process, because that is, I mean, what we every year after year, like I said, gubernatorial election after gubernatorial election, we go after the same demographic, the same folks with the same talking points, the same issues. I mean, we know our education standard is minimally adequate at best. We know that we don't have the infrastructure in place that we need to have for all of South Carolina to thrive. And that's economically, education-wise. I mean, that touches everything. Education and infrastructure touch everything. We know that, we've got years, decades of Republican governors and Republican-controlled House and Senate leaders or officials rather, I can't call them leaders, who refuse to expand Medicaid, who don't care that people are dying in record numbers, that teachers are leaving the profession in record numbers because they have disengaged as well. So I think we have to take these conversations to those that we want to engage and let them be a part of the conversation. That's the only way to get them back, and that's the only way to change our state. And we can't keep doing the same old things, running the same old kind of races with the same old kinds of candidates and expect something different. I am different. I've got 10 years of elected state government experience, unlike any of my opponents who are in the race so far. And I'm born and raised here, unlike my opponent. So, those are some of the things that I think give me a unique ability to connect with people that we haven't been able to reach in the past. And I'm different. I'm just different. I'm a Black woman. I'm not a white man. And I'm not Republican light. I am going to go straight to the fight. I'm not going to run away from it. I'm not going to run away from the tough issues that we need to be talking about. And I'm talking issues that impact all of us. And that just has not happened in the past in any races with any other candidates. So I'm looking forward to this. I think there's definitely a path forward to victory if we do things differently. And that's just baseline in terms of re-engaging those who have disengaged or have never been engaged. I mean, we don't even know some of the folks who are living in this state who may have come from other states that we haven't touched simply because they are tucked away in what has historically been a red county, or they live in a certain part of the state, or we're so accustomed to losing different parts of the state because we're Democrats. I'm not one that's really wed to the party labels. I am going to take the fight to the people, and I hope that the people will join me and create a South Carolina where all of us can thrive, and one that all of us can be part of and be proud of.
State Senator Mia McLeod, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Legislative twin.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Look forward to having you back again. You be safe on the road.
Okay, will do.
All right.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That was Mia McLeod, member of the South Carolina State Senate, running for governor. And you know how we do from these microphones. We'll have all the candidates on. So we will be, making sure that you get the information that you need to get.
Absolutely. And one thing, if we had more time, I wish I had a chance to ask her just her opinion about, because as we see where the state's going, where during this past time from the heartbeat bill to a bill that would allow for open carry without the training, which I'm all for responsible gun ownership, and that means that you have to have education or to have respect for it. Like some Jerome Heyward said earlier, and I love the wording of it, teach the value of life. teach the value of life. And then to top it off, this trifecta that we perfect this past year, the bringing back of a possible firing squad. Like, those three things right there just kind of state to you South Carolina politics.
It's been crazy, and I said that I came out last year. I left the legislature after 24 years, did not run for re-election, but this past year has been the worst. I've kept up with them. I've read about them. I've watched a little bit online. This has been the worst it's ever been. And that in the last 25 years, I can tell you, and even before that, the worst it's ever been. The mindset is crazy right now, and until more people in South Carolina demand more, forget about political party, Democrat, Republicans. We just want, you have to think what's in your best interest. Elected officials at all levels work for you. They don't care about the ceremonial stuff, the thing that's quote unquote sounds good, a great sound bite. What of substance is important for you in terms of, quality of life issues? Mm-hmm. And that's the tough part that we have to get people to understand.
Absolutely. My last comment is just saying that I really feel like within our state that there are strong extremes, but there's trolls or just people on whoever their thoughts are, who, like you said, they're not worried about the substance, but right now they're allowed us in the state, and they're the ones who've been directing policy. We're all just hoping with the show that those who really want substantial change that really means something, that they start to speak up, start to get out more and start to vote, and have that be a reflection of the state rather than the small percentage of people who just like chaos.
Mm-hmm. Well, we've got a lot of information out there, and that's what this show is about. We want to remind you, this show is about giving you the information. You, the listening audience, individually and collectively, have to make the decisions what you're going to do on a day-to-day basis. We're going to thank our guests again, County Councilman, Charleston County Councilman Jerome Heyward, and State Senator McLeod. All hearts and minds being clear. Until next time, take care of yourself, and thanks for listening.